Hello everyone, this is Shaunak Deshpande from Indomitable Tech coming to you with another Python video. So this is part 3 of the video series where you learn basic Python, and this course or this video series is aimed towards people who are not into coding like operations, finance, HR, etc. So this third video that we will be doing, we will be discussing about data type methods. So in the previous video we saw how to create a variable, and in this particular video we'll be saying once the variable is created, that is variable is nothing but that data type object. So once the data type object is created, we will see several inbuilt data type object methods. Methods are nothing but the actions that you perform on that particular data type object. So contents of this notebook: methods are called upon objects by using period dot at the end of the object followed by the name of the method and ending with round brackets. So the more examples that you'll see, the more easier it will be for you to understand. So we'll be focusing on all the 8 basic data types: string, integer, float, boolean, list, tuple, set and dictionary. So integer, float, boolean, these do not have much as many methods as string, list, tuple, set and dictionary. 1 or 2 at most for integer, float, boolean that we will see. And the format is, I have mentioned the name of the data type, and I also pasted the link where you can see all the data type methods for that particular data type object. So let's begin with string. So this is our variable, and the data in this string variable, string var, this is the name of the variable, and the data it contains is I ate sandwich today. So let me quickly execute this, and we have this variable created. So how you execute data type objects, data type methods is you type in the name of the variable followed by a dot, and after that you see several methods. So capitalize, case fold, center, count, encode, ends with, format, format maps, index, is alpha, is sc, is decimal, is space. So there are several methods. These are all the methods. If you are using Jupyter Notebook, you can see all these methods after typing dot and then hitting the tab button. So after hitting the tab button, you can see all these methods which are for this string data object. So if you want to capitalize only the first alphabet or the first character of this string, use capitalize, and make sure you enter round brackets at the end because this is a method. And after executing it, you see this I, which was earlier small or lowercase, it is now uppercase. I ate sandwich today. There are several methods, we will see some of them, but in your spare time you can see all of them by going to this particular link. So if you want to make all the characters uppercase, there is method for that as well. Upper, this will convert all the alphabets or all the contents of the string to uppercase. And if you want to see if all the letters are lowercase, there is a method for that as well. So str dot is lower. So is lower will tell whether true or false. So since it is true, because all the letters are in lowercase. Similarly, if you have, let's say, strvar2, and here we will write everything in uppercase. This is uppercase example. And if I want to convert all the letters in lowercase, I can do that. String var2 dot lower, and this will convert everything into lowercase. And you can, similar to is lower, you can type is upper and this will give true. If you type is lower, it should ideally give false. It is giving false. So this is how you can perform methods, data type object methods on the data type object. So these are all inbuilt. Then moving on to integer, this int var equal to 10 will be our this will be our variable, and 10 is the data that it contains. So if I type int var and dot after that, and if I hit tab, you see all these methods for integer: as integer ratio, bit length, conjugate, denominator, from bytes, imag, numerator, real, 2 bytes. To be quite honest, data type object methods for integer, float and boolean, so these are used very rarely when you get into actual programming or into data analysis. But just for the sake of understanding the data type methods, I am going to go through one or two methods for integer, float. So if you see as integer ratio, if I execute this, it is giving me integer ratio, that is first one is the numerator and the second one is the denominator. Similarly, if you want to see just the int var numerator, it will give 10. So it will give 10. Since we are not making use of round brackets, this is not a method. This is a class attribute. Class attribute and variables are the one and the same. Just when you are making use of a class, you do not make use of words such as function and variables. You make use of methods and attributes. So methods are followed by round brackets and attributes are not followed by round brackets. So int var, similarly you can see denominator, which is 1. Moving on to float. So we have float similar to int var. We will be making use of float var, which is our variable float var, and dot followed by, similar to as integer ratio as we saw here above, this will give me the integer ratio. Our data is 12.34. so integer ratio, it gives numerator as this particular value and denominator as this particular value. And if you calculate this, it is giving 12.24. so this divided by this, so numerator divided by denominator, it will give 12.34, which was our data. So as integer ratio gives the fraction, and there are other methods as well, like conjugate, from, hex, is integer, real. So let us execute this is integer and let's see what happens. Is integer, false, because 12.34 is not an integer. And if let's say flt var2 equal to 12.0, and if we execute the same thing, flt var2 dot is integer, and this should give true because 12.0 is an integer. So coming on to boolean, bool var equal to false. So in previous lecture I discussed that if bool value equal to true, that gets equated to 1, the number 1 as integer. So 1 is equated to true and 0 is equated to false. So bool var false, so bool var, and if I hit dot and then hit tab, you will see all these methods are exactly same to the methods which were visible to us when we were dealing with integer data type. So methods for integer and boolean are exactly the same, like as integer ratio, bit length, conjugate, denominator. So if I select as integer ratio, since it is false, it will give 0 and 1, 0 and 1. And if bool var 2 equal to true, and if we do the same thing as integer ratio, it will give 1 comma 1, because 1 means true and 0 means false. Coming on to list, so this is our list variable, and if I add list var dot followed by tab, we have several methods. The link is also pasted over here, so if you want to see the details, just click on it and it will take you to W3 schools, and you can see all these methods over here and the description as exactly what it does. And if you want to see in detail, just click on one of it and it will show you the example. So append, it adds an element which we are appending to this existing list at the end of it. So if we append something, it will be at the end of this particular list. So list var dot append, and append takes exactly one item. So if you want to pass 2 or 3 or more items, you have to make a list of it or a tuple of it. That is, you have to create one data object and then append. If you want to append one item, you can do that. Like for example, if I want to append 100, I can do that. I will execute it, and if I see this list var again, if you see 100 is appended at the end of it. And what I was referring to, it only takes one item, list var, and if I say 101 and 102, so it will not take this because append takes only one element. It will give me an error. Sorry, I had to write append over there. So list dot append takes exactly one argument, 2 were given, so I cannot pass 2 items over here. However, I can convert this to a list by placing 101 and 102 in square brackets, or I can place them in a tuple. Either works. So if I append it now, it has appended it, and if I want to see list var again, this tuple got appended in the end. So the next that we will be seeing, so list var, if I want to remove the last element from the list, I can use pop, and let me just add more code blocks. So pop will remove the last element and it will show that element which we have removed. So list var, if I execute it, this particular item at the end, 100 and this tuple of 101 and 102 was removed. If you want to remove an item inside the list in between, so there is a remove method. So remove, and here you have to pass in the name of that element. So suppose if you want to remove 23, type in 23 over here and then execute it, and then list var, if you see that particular list, so this 23 is removed because it was coming after 2 and before 14. Now after 2 directly 14 is appearing, so 23 got removed. Now list var dot another index. Index is nothing but it gives you the position of that particular item. So I'll tell you how indexing works. In Python, index always starts from 0. So 43, the position of 43 will be considered as 0, 12 will be 1, 2 will be 2, 14 will be 3, 7 will be 4, and 100 will be 5. So if I want to find the index of 12, so if I type in 12, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So 12 is at position 1. So if I execute this, it will give me 1. If I want to see position of 14, I will type in 14 over here. Position of 14 is 3. And if you want to see, so 0 is the index for 43. So if you want to see as per the index, write the name of the list variable. So list underscore var is the variable for our list, variable name for our list, and inside the square bracket I will be entering the index. So at position 0 we have 43, at position 1, so you have to give the index number and it will give the item at that particular index. At 1 we have 12, at 2 we will be getting this 2, at 3 we will be getting this 14, and then at 4 we will be getting 7, and at 5 we will be getting 100. Also, similar to how we are moving from left to right, if we move from left to right, it will always start from 0. That is 43, index number of 43 will be 0. Also in Python you can start from right side as well. So list var, if I give -1, it will start from right side and it will give 100. That is, you start from the last item 100. And if you want to go towards if you want to go from right to left, you can give -2, it will give -7. And if you give index which does not exist, like list var, let's say 8, it will give an error saying list index out of range, because in our list we have only 1 2 3 4 5 6 up to 0 1 2 3 4 5, we have up to index 5, and 8 is outside 5, so it is giving us index error, that index does not exist, so list index out of range. Similarly, the same thing can be applied to if we start counting from right. So instead of 8, I am giving -8, it will still give the same error, list index out of range. Now moving on to tuple. Tuple has only 2 methods, inbuilt methods. Let us check both of them. So tuple var dot count, it will give if you have to pass the name of the item, and it will tell how many times that particular item is appearing inside our tuple. So GMEPL, this is a tuple consisting of 5 alphabets, and if I want to see the number of times E has appeared, I will pass in E, and it is telling me it has appeared only one time. Let me just add one more E. So we have 2 E's in our tuple right now, and if I execute it again, it will tell me we have E 2 times. This is for count, so it tells you the number of times that particular item is appearing in the tuple. Then tuple var dot index, similar to list, it will tell us the index where it is appearing. So since E is appearing 2 times, I'll tell you how we get the index. So if your element or item is appearing 2 times, it will give only the index of the first item. It starts counting from left by default. So if I execute this, it is giving 0 1 2. So E, it has found E. The first time it finds E, it will give you the index of that particular item. So even if E is appearing at the end as well, so 1 2 3 4 5 6, so E is appearing at index position 2 and 6, it will only give the index of the first time it is appearing. So moving on to set. So this is our set variable. So you can add to set, remove from set, similar to list. So set var dot. So these are all the methods that you can use for set. You can also make use of intersection, union of set. So let us see the examples to make it easier to understand. So set var dot add, if I want to add a number, so let's add the number 9 is already there, so let's add 11. So if I add this, let me quickly add code blocks as well. So if I execute this set var again, this 11 is added, and this set, the order of this set is changed because set is an unordered collection of elements. So moving on to next example for sets, add, and let us create 2 sets, and let us pop and remove. It is exactly the same as we discussed in list. So let us check union and intersection. So let me quickly create set var 2 as 3 2 9 13 15 17. So this will be the second set, and if you check set var 1 and set var 2, we have 3 2 9 as common elements. So let us check set var dot, and we want to see the intersection set. So intersection will give the common items, and we want to see with this particular set. So set var dot intersection, and we'll pass the name of this second set, and if we execute this, we are getting the common elements 2, 3 and 9 are appearing in both set var and set var 2. Similarly, union set var 2. So set var is the first set and set var 2 is the second set, and we want to check the union. So it will give the union of both these two sets. So this is the union of both these two sets. Set var dot difference, it will give the difference, and I have also mentioned the link where you can see all the description of all these methods and examples as well. Is subset, is superset, is disjoint, pop, remove. So these are the methods which you can perform for sets. Next one on the demo and the last one is dictionary. So dict var, this is our dictionary. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are the keys, and Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, these are the values. So let's see what methods dictionary has. So clear, copy, from keys, get items, keys, pop items, set default, update values. So these are all the existing methods. From that, once you start making use of this particular data type, the most frequently you will be making use of is items, get and values. So let's see one by one. If you want to see all the existing keys, you can do that. Just type in dot keys and then round brackets. It will give a list of all the keys in the list in the dictionary. So dot keys will give a list of all the keys. Similarly, dot values will give a list of all the values in the dictionary. So these are all the values in the dictionary. And items will give a tuple. It will be a list of tuples of key and value. So dict var dot items, it will give a list of tuples. So this is the first tuple of key and value, second tuple of key and value, third tuple of key and value, fourth tuple of key and value. So this was the third example in dictionary data object method. And once you start making use of once you start coding more and more, you will get more used to these data type object methods. So the more you practice, the more easier it will be for you to code and make use of this. So it will be more like muscle memory once you start coding. So that's all for this particular video. Let's go through the entire notebook again and call it let's conclude the video. So in this particular video, we saw what data type methods are, and first we saw for string. In string we saw capitalize, which makes uppercase only the first alphabet or the first content or the first item of that particular string. Then we saw dot upper, which makes all the content of the string uppercase. Is lower tells whether are all the alphabets or are all the letters in that particular string in lowercase. Then this one was is lower. It tells, we saw is upper and is lower. So let me, for demo purpose, let me keep this as is upper, and I'll be keeping this notebook on GitHub. The link will be in the description. Then we saw for integer, float and boolean. There are not a lot of inbuilt data type object methods, and also once we start making use of it, they are not used mainstream. So in my experience, so we saw as integer ratio, which gives the ratio of the number. Then numerator, these are the class attributes, hence round brackets are not used over here. Then we saw for float, examples for float, as integer ratio, the ratio gives the number 12.34. Then moving ahead, for boolean, boolean is same methods as integer. Then for list, we saw append method, then pop method. Append method adds an element at the end of the list. Pop method removes an element from the end of the list. Then removes an element from any place in the list. Then index gives the index number of that particular element from the list. And then we saw how to find the item that is present at that particular index. Then we saw examples for tuple, only two methods for tuple. One is count, that is it counts the number of item that the number of times the item is present in the tuple, and then index of that particular item. Then we saw for set, how to add an item to a set, how to find intersection of two sets, how to say union of two sets. And at the end we saw dictionary. Keys gives the existing keys in the dictionary, values gives the list of all the existing values, and then items gives the existing key value pairs in that particular dictionary. So I would suggest you to practice all these items that we are discussing, because the more you practice, the more it will be easier for you. Do not just watch the videos, but practice as well, because it will help you. And I would suggest you go to these particular websites, at least see all these descriptions. You don't have to practice all this because it will be time consuming, but you should at least know what that these particular methods are present. Down the line, in case you need any of these particular things to be done, you should know that these things exist in Python, and always you can Google it to see the correct method to apply that particular method in your code. So you should know what things can be done, and how to do it you can always find it on Google. So that's it for this particular video. In the next video we'll be discussing about loops. So thank you for being here with me. This was Shaunak, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.